and welcome to lesson 5.3 in the Alice tutorial series. Today we're going to be examining a simple technique to make objects orbit around one another using a turn command and as seen by. This makes it possible to make one object kind of orbit another if you think about maybe making a scene where you have a moon orbiting a planet. One of the examples we'll do is a fish swimming around an island. Maybe you want to have a dragon that's flying around and circling a castle, getting ready to attack. There's a number of times that you're going to want to get objects to circle another. And beginning Alice programmers oftentimes use a series of like move forward, turn a little bit, move forward, turn a little bit commands. And it looks a little bit choppy. This is a really cool technique that you can use in a lot of your programs. So let's go ahead and look at how we can make objects orbit each other using turn and as seen by. So I've got my new Alice world here, and for this example we're going to be using an island and a water scene. So select File, New World, and let's use the water template. So with the water template added, the first thing I want to do is add an island to my scene. So I'm going to click Add Objects, scroll over to Environments, and inside the Environments tab, we've got an island. Here it is. And I'm going to drag the island out here. I'm going to change the elevation of my camera and tilt it a little bit so I can get kind of a better view of the island. Yeah, that's about right. The next thing I want to do to set the scene up is I'm going to want to add a fish that's going to swim around the island. I'm going to grab a fish from the ocean. So here's the ocean gallery. Let's find a fish that we're going to want to use here. And let's go ahead and drag this yellow minnow out. And for purposes of this example, I'm going to oversize the yellow minnow just because it will be easier to see. So here we go, we've got my yellow minnow, and I'll turn it to be swimming parallel to the island. So with our scene set up, we can go ahead and try and animate it so that this fish swims a circle around the island. When trying to attempt something like this, a lot of the beginning programmers with Alice do something like this. They've got their scene up and they'll select the yellow minnow, and in their Methods tab right here, they'll have the minnow move forward, and let's say we'll move the minnow forward 2 meters, and then try this out. Okay, that's pretty good. And then they'll have the minnow turn to the left, maybe, let's call it 0.15 revolutions, something around there. And then we hit play, the minnow turns, and then they'll have the minnow move forward again, and it will become this convoluted block of code that just has a lot of things going on. And ultimately, when it's done, the fish doesn't look like he's swimming in a circle. It's more like he's swimming in an octagon. We want the fish to swim in a true circle. So you don't want to do this when you're having two objects orbit one another. So let's delete this code right here. We can accomplish this in one line of code. Let's go ahead and tell the yellow minnow to turn left 1 revolution. And I'm going to set the duration of this to 4 seconds so that we can see it a little bit more clearly. When we run this code, as you might imagine, the fish will turn around in place. And there's our fish swimming around in a circle. But the fish isn't swimming around the island like we'd like him to. The way we're going to do that is by adding one more argument as seen by the object we want the second object to rotate. In this case, we want the island to be the center point, and we want the fish to swim around the island. By adding as seen by island and hitting play, see, we've added an animation where the fish is now swimming around the island. So this technique will definitely work to make any two objects circle one another. But perhaps what's most important is to understand why it works. It's one thing to learn this is how something is done in programming, but it's another to understand why it's doing what it is doing on the screen. And if you don't understand the why, you'll never quite understand programming. So let's open up a copy of a graphics editing program and draw a little illustration of why the fish circles the island when we add the as seen by command. So I've got Paint open here, and let's create a new document. And this will just be a quick example of how asSeenBy affects these images. We're going to draw, let's see, a green arrow. So let's make sure we have arrow selected. We do. We're going to draw a green arrow on the screen, and this is going to represent our island. I'm going to take the island and rotate it a little bit. So let's say that our island object in our world is facing to the left here. So that represents our island. Then we add a fish. So we're going to go ahead and draw another arrow here. We'll make this kind of a yellowish color. And this is going to represent the fish. So we have the island here and the fish here. Well, what's going to happen is if we give a turn command here to this fish, and we say turn left 1 revolution, the fish will turn left 1 revolution. When we use asSeenBy, what we're really doing is linking the two objects together. So if we take and add an asSeenBy command, essentially what we're doing, and see, we'll use a little blue color for this, is we're taking this object and we're saying we want you to turn left, but we want you to turn left as if this object here was receiving the command. So now those two objects are linked to one another. When we tell this object now to turn left by 1 revolution, what's going to happen is because they're linked, this island will theoretically be turning around. In reality, the island's not going to move at all. But you can see, as the island would be turning left, the fish would be swimming around the island. Because we're using asSeenBy, the island's not actually going to move. But this object, this fish, will react as if the island is turning left. And when the island turns left, if these two objects are attached, the fish would be swimming around the island. So that's just a quick example of why using asSeenBy, the island causes the fish to swim in a perfect circle around the island. So that's really all there is to it. If you have two objects and you want one to circle the other, just use an asSeenBy argument in your turn command and you'll get the desired effect. So I think it's pretty simple, but let's go ahead and move forward to our lesson 5.3 challenge program to make sure that you can do this on your own. So here you have it, the lesson 5.3 challenge program. Using some of the previous lessons that we've done, I've created an Earth and I've created a moon. I've also deleted the ground and thrown together a like star-like background and created a scene where we have the moon orbiting the Earth. You can see it running there in the background. In order to do this, I use the asSeenBy command, and I have it running a fixed number of times, so the moon will actually stop after 10 full revolutions around the Earth. You'll notice the Earth isn't rotating yet. When we get to the next couple of lessons and we start talking about simultaneous action blocks, there's commands in Alice that are called do together and do in order that will allow us to even make the scene better. We're not quite there yet, so your scene doesn't necessarily have to have anything but an orbiting moon, but we'll get to the point where we can have the Earth rotating in the background and the moon rotating and kind of create a neat solar system model if we really put some time into it. But the lesson 5.3 challenge program is simply to create a planet, doesn't have to be Earth, create a moon for that planet, and have it realistically orbit that planet. If you can do that, you're in a good spot. Now, as always, if you have any questions about the way this works, or if you have any need for assistance, or you need someone to kind of help you with your program, go ahead and leave those questions in the comments, and I will definitely help you out and get your programs up and running. Thank you so much for watching the Alice tutorial series. Best of luck, and have a great day.